What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take another look at Quicksilver. You see, Quicksilver has gone and been revealed, and well, we'd kind of seen Quicksilver before in Pietro Maximoff, but we hadn't had that good a look. We'd really just seen a couple random cards and a hero. We've now got a much better look at what exactly Quicksilver is, and what exactly Quicksilver does. So thanks to the lovely folks at Fantasy Flight Games for running a live stream. Now, Pietro Maximoff here's got a recovery of 3, which is fine. Hand size of 6, which is standard. Hit points of 9 is low. We've seen this on heroes like Hawkeye. Hit points of 9 feels low. If you have a really bad turn, you can be taken out in one go. I don't love hit points of 9. But you do have these superpowered siblings action in Alter Ego that lets you discard 2 cards from your hand and draw 2 cards, free instead if Wanda Maximoff is in play. Clearly they want you to play 2-player with a pair of them, why would they not? But then when we head on into Quicksilver, we're initially slightly underwhelmed. Because Quicksilver's got 1 thwart, 1 attack, 1 defense, that's not particularly good. Having said that, those are the base stats of Spider-Woman, and we all saw how that turned out. You've then got the standard hand size of 5 and the standard hit points of 9. But what's really cool here is super speed response. After you use one of Quicksilver's basic powers, you ready him, limited to once per phase. And this is pretty much where we left Quicksilver last time we met. Low stats, but you get to ready him when you attack, thwart, or defend. But even then, you've got an effective thwart, attack, or defense of 2. It's not exactly particularly great. It is awesome to be able to mix and match, but it's still not great. But then we see the upgrade Hyper Perception, a 2-cost upgrade that gives Quicksilver an extra 1 thwart. Well, now you've got a thwart of 2, but you can ready yourself an extra time, so now you can be thwarting for 4. And this is when Quicksilver's going to end up getting really good. Having your basic attack, thwart, and defense of 1 means that even when you're readying yourself, you're not doing enough. But being able to boost your thwart, attack, or defense, and then being able to ready yourself and essentially get multiple activations per turn, that is when things get really, really nice. And they did say in the stream that it is not a spoiler to say there are equivalent cards for both attack and defense. And honestly, if they hadn't said that in the stream, right now I would be giving a very obvious prediction that you are going to be getting a 2-cost upgrade that gives you +1 attack, a 2-cost upgrade that gives you +1 defense. We weren't told they're 2-cost upgrades, we weren't told they're +1, but I think it's fair to assume they will be exactly equivalent. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are starting to roll. Because now we've essentially got 2/2/2 as stats, which is pretty good, and you get to ready yourself as you go during your turn, and that is beautiful. And this might be a lovely time to remind you about the event card Always Be Running. This is one we saw before. A 1-cost event that lets you ready Quicksilver. And you see, this starts to escalate. Because now you've got attack of 2, thwart of 2, etc. But you potentially get 3 activations during your turn. You attack, and then because you've used the basic power you get to ready, and then you attack, and then you play Always Be Running, and then you get to ready, and you can potentially be attacking for 6 or thwarting for 6 or some combination of them, or you can defend, but then you can also thwart and attack, essentially all in the same round. It gets kind of silly, ladies and gentlemen, except we can actually go a little bit further, because there is a rather lovely 2-cost event, Maximum Velocity. And what happens here is, it is a 2-cost event, limited to once during your phase, +2 attack, +2 thwart, +2 defense. So now you're essentially sitting there, for this round, with 4 attack, 4 thwart, 4 defense, and when you use one of them, you ready, and you could potentially then use Always Be Running. Because seriously, this combo would take 3 resources. It really would not be the end of the world. Yes, you'd have to have set up your upgrades earlier in the game, and this is going to remind me very much of Iron Man, and Black Widow a little bit as well, I suppose. If you've played Iron Man, you will know that if you go from Alter Ego to Hero Mode without setting up a bunch of your armor, it's essentially over. You'll lose pretty quickly. Seems like a similar thing's going on here. Probably not amazing for a couple of turns, but then you end up with your upgrades on, and then you hit maximum velocity and maybe Always Be Running, and then Quicksilver becomes utterly over the top. And you've got 12 attack or 12 thwart, or you mix and match, you attack for 8 while thwarting for 4, which is really not outside the realms of possibility. But wait! Surely here we are relying on drawing into the perfect cards at the perfect time. Surely that's just a little bit unrealistic. Come on, Wossy. How can we actually make sure we draw the right cards at the right time? Serval Industries, a 1-cost support with an Alter Ego action that lets you exhaust it and then shuffle 2 Quicksilver cards from your discard pile into your deck. And when I've got my upgrades already on, you probably know by now which 2 I'm choosing. I'm going maximum velocity, and I'm going Always Be Running. They're Quicksilver cards because they've got Quicksilver's name and face in the bottom right-hand corner. It is one of the 15 cards from the Quicksilver deck. And you see, as the game goes on, my hero deck will get smaller and smaller and smaller until it runs out and I take an encounter card and shuffle it up. But until that happens, it gets smaller. So as I'm using Serval Industries, which might I add is only a 1-cost support, it is not an expensive card. As I'm using that to shuffle cards into my deck, which is smaller and smaller, it is getting more and more likely that I'm actually going to be drawing into these cards I need to draw into, and that is kind of phenomenal. There is, and this is, we're getting a really good look at how Quicksilver plays now. All of the heroes in Marvel Champions have a real hook to how they play, and the hook really with Quicksilver here is boost up your low starting stats, make yourself active multiple times, and frankly, go nuts. Now, the other thing we've got to look at today is the Nemesis minion, and that is Avalanche. And Avalanche, honestly, when it's out, Avalanche really not terribly scary. Scheme of 1, attack of 2, health of 4. For a Nemesis minion, that is frankly disappointing. The stats here on Avalanche aren't good. Your Nemesis minion is supposed to be the one that makes you quake in your boots and can lose you the game and all of that. Scheme of 1, attack of 2, health of 4. Those are pretty low, pretty uninspiring stats for a Nemesis minion. But you'll notice I said when he's out, he's not particularly great. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, when he appears, that is when Avalanche does his thing. Insight 2, that is to say when Avalanche is revealed, you place 2 threat on the main scheme. And bearing in mind, this could be when you are in hero mode. And when you're in hero mode, you're not expecting threat to be put on the main scheme. You're expecting the villain to attack, and then there'll be 1 threat put on the main scheme at the beginning of the villain phase, but you're not expecting much threat to go on there. Insight can ruin your plans. Oh, I'm going to lose if 3 more threat goes on the main scheme, but that's okay. The villain is going to be attacking me, I'll be fine. 1 threat on at the beginning of the villain phase, Avalanche comes out, boom, you lose the game right there and then. Oh yeah, and when Avalanche is revealed, you must either take 2 indirect damage or exhaust your identity. Which, to be fair, with Hawkeye, you're not going to worry all that much. Although it is worth noting, one of the ways that Hawkeye activates himself, it makes himself active again, is by using a basic power. But if you start your turn exhausted, you won't be able to use that basic power to use yourself again. But then if you hit an Always Be Running, you'll still get 2 uses, so it depends how many Always Be Running are in the deck, I suppose, but it still doesn't sound like the worst thing ever. So I think a lot of the time, depending on your hand, you'll probably accept the exhaustion. But 2 threat on the main scheme and either exhaust or 2 indirect damage, that's when Avalanche gets a little bit harsh. And there was one other card revealed. It's just a leadership card, United We Stand. We might as well mention it briefly here. And it is a 0-cost event that you can play only if your hero has the Avenger trait. And it is worth noting, you totally do. Actually, while we're talking about traits, we should probably mention that Avalanche has the Brotherhood of Mutants trait. We can all start speculating about that in the near future. But what this does for no resources, heal 1 damage from up to X friendly characters, up to a maximum of 3, where X is equal to the villain's stage number. So if you're against a stage 1 villain, you heal 1 damage from 1 character. And it is character, it doesn't have to be a hero, it could be an ally. And bearing in mind, healing 1 from an ally basically gives you an extra use most of the time. So that's probably where I'm thinking of going with this. But if you're against a stage 3 villain, you're on expert mode, it's a lot harder, etc. You get to heal 1 from 3 characters, which could give you 3 more minion activations before they go down for 0 cost. I'm alright with this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm alright with this. So there we go. That is what we know about Quicksilver so far, and this is rounding up, shaping up into a very interesting hero indeed. Quicksilver started off as one of the heroes I was least interested in, but that is turning around pretty gosh darn quickly. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about this, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice, and then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy. That's where we talk Digimon and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.